Morning, everyone. Time for some live training today on the back of yesterday, and part two of my abusive messages stroke mini trolling. So when something like this happens, it's always a great lesson. There's always a lesson to learn, particularly nowadays. So I'm going to give you sort of an insight, some more insight into the abuse that I got and the messages that I got. Now, the individual in question challenged my status as a life coach, which I'm not a life coach. Never claimed to be, and to be honest, don't really want to be. Nothing against that particular style of coaching or methodology, of course. But the thing is, with the problem that I think nowadays happens is that there are life coaches who are like 22, 23, which again, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But there's an argument to say that actually, what life has somebody that's in their early 20s experienced really to be able to coach people, older than them about life, if I'm honest. So, that's probably the first thing is that, the ability to coach people on life, surely should firstly come from the fact that you've experienced some life, you've had, enough life to be able to coach people. So that's probably the first thing to say on the whole concept of life coaching. So if you do ever come across somebody like a life coach, it's probably best to be a little bit careful that they've actually experienced some life first. So that's the first thing to say on that. The second thing to say on the whole thing about life coaching is that if somebody says, "Oh, what do you do? Are you a life coach?" Well, what the way I tend to do it, actually, funny enough, because part of the challenge with this abuse that I got yesterday was it's linked to a time in my life when I made a lot of mistakes, and I mean a lot of mistakes, some absolute whoppers, actually, some real good lessons, some real humdinging mistakes. So when I don't claim to be a life coach, what I claim to be is, particularly in what I do, is somebody that's made more mistakes than you coach normally. Because the amount of times that I have fell from grace and failed at things and made some absolutely ridiculous decisions is untrue. And it's that ability to look back on those and learn from them that have made me a better person, and then help me to help other people do certain things. I'm not going to claim that, all this stuff's a miracle, but from certainly what I do, I help people feel a bit better about themselves. Not perfect all the time, because sometimes life sucks. We've seen a few examples of that this week, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. We've seen sometimes that life sucks and bad things happen. So the concept of this utopic, everyone's floating around happy all the time nonsense is bullshit, basically. That's not reality. Reality is that life sucks sometimes. And if somebody's going around claiming to be a life coach and claiming that they've got this serene, perfect existence, well, they're full of shit, because that's not always true. That's not always right. Life isn't like that. Life does suck sometimes. So when, what I do is I help people because I've made mistakes, absolute beauties, absolute whoppers. And to be fair, part of this abuse that I got yesterday and part of these messages that I got yesterday reminded me of some mistakes that I made a couple of years ago that were quite, in context, I mean, no one died or anything, but they were quite bad. And when you make those mistakes and you're willing to fail, then you're willing to learn, then you can coach people properly. Because most people who have done anything that you want to do, whether it be weight loss, fitness, business, relationships, whatever, the reason why people are successful is normally because they failed a lot. And they've learnt a lot of lessons. People are scared of taking risks, far too scared of taking any sort of risks. And unless you take some risks, calculated risks, of course, then you're never going to make any mistakes. And if you never make any mistakes, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to do anything. You're never going to get anywhere. And you're never going to learn. So, whilst obviously, this abuse that I got was based around some very pent-up aggression and very pent-up anger, which was released online. The basis is that I'm not a life coach. I've just fucked loads of things up. I've just made loads of mistakes, and and I've learned from them, and I'm still learning from them, and I'm still making mistakes today, and I'll make some mistakes tomorrow. The key really is not making the same ones over and over again. So if you want some free coaching, there you go. Stop making the same mistakes. You know, if you eat too much, stop eating so much. How do I stop eating so much? Stop eating so much. Find a way to stop eating so much. It's not complicated. If, I'm unfit, well, get fit then. Stop looking for meaning. Stop looking for this magic formula and this magic stuff. And I want a better job. How do I get a better job? Well, get a better job. Get the skills you need to get a better job. This stuff's not complicated. But when someone's saying there's life coaching, well, what's life? Life's different for everybody. You know, life's different for all of us. There's no blueprint. There's no you should do this and you should do that. For me, if you want some coaching, I once heard that happiness is the ability to be in a pleasant frame of mind the majority of the time. Not all the time. Again, this week, life sucks sometimes, yeah? But be in a positive frame of mind the majority of the time. Some people say to me about health and eating well, I say, make good decisions the majority of the time. Not all the time, but make good decisions the majority of the time, and that's it. So, I suppose in truth, the message for everybody, based on the lesson that I've learned, is that life sucks sometimes, and you know, you don't need a life coach necessarily. You just need to ask, am I in a pleasant state of mind majority of the time? And if I'm not, why? Which bit needs work? You know, which bit am I not working on that needs some work? Which bit could I be curious about? Which bit could I find out about? But, you know, everyone's life's individual. So somebody trying to tell you how to live your life, well, I don't do that. Because if somebody doesn't want to eat well and exercise, particularly in my specific area, then I can't convince them to. If they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it, no matter what I say. So yeah, not a life coach, never claimed to be. But there's a lesson there for all of us, which is nobody can tell you how to live your life, and life does suck sometimes. And you know, we spend so much time trying to fathom things out, we don't actually do stuff towards what we want to do. If you want to get fit, learn how to get fit. You want to eat better, learn how to eat better. We don't need the leather couch thing, unless you've got serious problems, then, you know, then get help. But apart from that, most people just need to say, well, what do I want to do? Find out how to do it, find help, and do it. But don't go into this thing thinking that life's always going to be positive and happy and fun. It's not. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it sucks real bad. Sometimes it's really bad. Yeah? And you've got to learn how to get through that without taking it personally and without having a sense of entitlement that it's all about you, because it's not. So if you want life coaching, that's it, really. You've got one of them, depending on what you believe. Find out what you want to do, yeah? And find a way to work towards doing it rather than asking questions all the time about how to do it. How to do it. And if you want to know why someone's successful, I'm successful, particularly health and fitness wise, because I've made more mistakes than other people, and I know my mistakes, and I'm willing to admit them and work at them. Not willing to pretend that everything's rosy, because it's not. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I make absolute whoppers. Yeah? Let myself down, let other people down, hurt people's feelings, do all that sort of shit. That's life. But if you learn from it, then I suppose that's coaching, isn't it, I guess? So, rambling a little bit. There you go. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about anger and whether or not that's useful. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Thursday.